Hey guys, I'm learning TFT and I'm sharing my learnings with you so that you can learn better and I can learn more effectively as well. In this video, I'm going to talk about the easiest way to hit a prismatic trait that's typically a 10 piece or a 7 syndicate. So 7 syndicate's not prismatic, but if you can get any of these options, you'll usually win the game, right? Like 80 some percent of the time. And there's actually quite a higher probability way that you can try to maximize the odds of hitting these two specifically because they 10 Street Demon and 10 Anima Squad both have 8 units in their trait web. So if we look at Street Demon, you'll see here there's 6 for the top row and 2 on the bottom row. And same thing for Anima. We have 2, 4, 6, 8 of them. So you only need 2 to hit the prismatic. And then for Syndicate, there are 5 of them, but you need +2 to hit the 7 piece. So I'm going to talk in this video about a way to use the set mechanic hacks for this set to be able to hit that. So the key thing is that there is a hacked treasure dragon in this set, and it basically offers you a treasure dragon at the end of stage 4, and this is the loot table for that. And so Asa had a tweet that said prismatic traits are a very real win condition in treasure armory encounter games. If you have Anima, Street Demon, or Syndicate, save the required component for the armory. Especially if you have a Reforger, it will only cost about 10 gold on average to find a spat or pan. So that's using Mortdog's loot table here. There's 18 options. 1, 2, 3 of them come with a spat or pan. And so as long as you have, I would say, like, if you save something like 20 gold, you should be able to hit one of those fairly reasonably. And once you do, you should have the opportunity, if you already had an emblem of the other two, to be able to hit the prismatic. Now, that's why Wandering Trainer is especially good on Hacked Treasure Dragon. This is like an S++ augment on this encounter because it allows you to hit the 10 piece for Anima and Street Demon at level 9 instead of level 10, which makes a huge difference. Syndicate is probably the easiest to hit because you don't need to get to level 9 or 10. You can actually hit it at level 7 or level 8. And so if you can hit a Syndicate emblem early, that's probably the easiest way to guarantee that you can get like a top 2. You might lose out to someone as this strategy becomes more optimized who is playing Anima or Street Demon. But this is something that you should pay very close attention to when you're playing on this encounter. So in this game, I want to go through a treasure dragon game, and I'm gonna kind of go on a little bit faster. This is already on 2x speed, but I'm gonna jump around just to kind of explain my thought process at various points in the game and how you want to approach this strategy. So you might lean slightly more towards holding the Street Demon line. You can see that there were some people doing that. I'm holding the Mundo and Zyra. And here, I don't see any augments that are giving me emblems, and nothing that really aligns with my strategy. I see Wandering Trainer and I'm already salivating. So this is definitely the best augment that you can take. Of course, if you have a Street Demon emblem or Anima emblem, crown, crest, those are higher probability. But the Wandering Trainer is what allows you to be able to hit the 10-piece prismatic on level 9. If you hit the emblem, you have to get to level 10. And so that can be extremely challenging. So here I'm already heavily leaning towards the Street Demon line. Boombot doesn't really have much boom behind it right now. You can see there that someone else had the Anima Squad and the Street Demon emblem, so he's someone that I'm going to have to look out for to see if he's going to contest my units. Of course, to get to the 10 piece, you do need to be able to hit Samira, or if you're playing Anima, you got to hit Aurora. And so you got to make sure that you're preserving HP and have a lot of gold to be able to eventually get to level 9 and hit Samira. And of course, all of your other units of that trait. The other thing to keep in mind, as Asa mentioned, you on the treasure dragon round, you do want to save enough gold to be able to roll for that spat or pan. You want to make sure that if you find a reforger, that you save it. And then lastly, you want to save the component of the type that's required to make your emblem. So for Street Demon, that's a rod. And for Anima Squad, I forget off the top of my head. Let me actually pull it up. Alright, for Anima Squad, that's a tier. And for Syndicate, that's a cloak. Keep in mind, all of these are going to be spatula related. So if you don't have a Reforger, you will need to save more gold on the Treasure Dragon round because sometimes it'll give you spat, sometimes it'll give you pan. And so you might need something like double the amount of gold that you would have needed if you had a Reforger available. So my game plan here is basically to just kind of play default AP similar to the Street Demon Techie brand Ziggs AP line that I have been covering in the last few videos. And I get fortunate here in that I get the hacked components. So I will want to save a rod. Right now, I slam a JG because JG, Shojin, and Guardbreaker is pretty much BIS on brand. You really want to have burst against the Rengar 3s, and this guy's already going Rengar 3 with an Executioner emblem. So I know I'm going to eventually face this guy, so I need that heavy damage and crit potential. And then I'm going to save the other hacked component for the Street Demon emblem down the line. I forgot actually, I think, to hold this rod here, but that's something you definitely want to do. And so here, I'm looking for something that will help me get to level 9. If there was like invested plus or something with gold, that would be quite good. Luden's Echo seems reasonable. But I'm looking for something that's going to be significantly better. And this is where I'm like, okay, I pretty much won the game. Final Reserves gives me everything I want. It helps me make sure I don't die, first off. It will give me a ton of XP, which will let me get to level 9. And will give me... I actually don't recall how this exactly works. You get 70 XP and set your gold to 90. XX gold is converted to XP. So you get a bunch of XP and gold. And so now I'm pretty much off to the races with the game plan that I have in mind. I should have held this rod over there, but I ended up not doing that. I didn't want to burn Remover, so I just took out the Mordekaiser, even though it's probably a little bit of a weaker board. And now I'm like not too worried about losing too much HP since I do have final reserves and that will let me hit my board sooner. But I do want to pay attention to that other Street Demon Anima Squad player because they might be kind of having the same game plan to try to hit the prismatic trait. And here I'm at 5 Street Demon, 3 Strategist. We got a Cypher player that got a 360 cash out with Last Stand. Or actually, he's still on his cash out, right? So I know that I really got to make sure that I hit my 10 piece on my... I need to, on the Treasure Dragon, I need to hit the Spatula. And then I need to make sure that I hit my 10 piece before I face that Cypher player again, because they're likely going to have a really big cash out and they can knock me out. And I need to keep an eye on the Anima, the other Wandering Trainer player. So now I hit the big R2, it's pretty solid item holder. Get the Cyber Boss in with the Poppy. And here, I figure with the extra Wandering Trainer, I believe the emblems count towards item collector. So it just gives me a lot of value. And I'm probably going to get pretty late into the game, assuming I hit my 10 Street Demon, so this just gives me a lot more combat power. I guess you could argue that item collector kind of just gives you more of the same stats that Street Demon already has, which is not as needed, but I think it's either way, it's probably good value. So I'm holding on to that rod on bench. I probably could just put it onto like the Rengar so that I can make econ there. Because if you make it, it'll still pop off. And at this point, I don't need to actually get to level 9 myself because Final Reserves is going to give me like 70 XP or something, which will help me get there. And so now it's just about preserving some HP and making sure that I'm not... if anybody else is contesting, like we saw that that player was playing Street Demon, that I'm able to hit some of the units I want, so specifically Nico and Bran. I have an open sword, so I find a tier off carousel, slam a Shojin, working towards my dual carry with the Bran and Ziggs. I find the Nico, and so at this point, I have 7 Street Demon, I have a Jinx on bench, which would be 8. I'm just missing Samira for 9, and then 10 would be the Street Demon emblem, where I have Open Rod on bench on that Alawi. And I just need to make sure that I'm not dying before I get my 10 Street Demon in. I sell the Alawi. By the way, I think when I scouted here... Okay, maybe not, but there is... The other player who went... that had the Wandering Trainer ended up going vertical Anima and is going for a 10 Anima angle. Alright, so here, this is where it gets interesting. I'm looking, again, I'm going to pull up the loot table again. So we are looking for one of these, Spat Pan, Spat Pan, Spat Pan, right? And I've saved 2 Reforgers. I don't really need 2, but I'm just going to keep rolling until I find a one with a spatula. And I really don't even care what anything else is. So I found that. It's like a pretty bad augment scavenger, but I take it nonetheless. And now I just need to get to level 10. So proc the last stand, or the final reserve, sorry, and then get to level 9 and roll for the Samira. I'm curious what wins out, 10 Anima or 10 Street Demon, because I think the Anima player already hit the 10 Anima. This guy. So he already hit. The good thing is that he's on Xayah 1 and Leona 1 and not much gold. So it might take him longer to hit his units, whereas I'm going to have a ton of gold once I roll down. So I'm already level 9 and I got set to 90 gold. So I just decided to go to level 10 because I'm getting to level 10 with like 50 gold and the 5 cost odds are pretty high. Let's see, it goes from 12% to 25%. So it's probably about break even. I guess I could have stayed at 9 and rolled, but like if there wasn't another Street Demon player, I maybe would have considered just staying at 9 and rolling, because then I could go for 3-star brand, 3-star Ziggs. But here I just need to hit one Samira. There it is. Get the Jinx in. Viego. Hit the brand 2, and now we're pretty much good to go. And from here, now the main question is what wins? 10 Anima or 10 Street Demon? So this is against the other Street Demon player. He hit his whole board, but doesn't stand a chance against 10 Street Demon. So this is the guy. I'm putting in my team planner, Leona and Zaya, to try to negate his odds of hitting those. And then we've pretty much hit our whole board at this point. And since I hit the Ziggs too, I wanted to get Cyber Boss in for the Ziggs, so I put in Kobuko over the Viego. And surprisingly, the 10 Anima player lost to the... So they just hit, but they lost to this board. So we've talked about how this board, if you can hit everything ahead of tempo, get to 9, have Nico 2, Brand 2, Ziggs 2, it has a lot of burst potential. So this board beat a 10 Anima. Now, that was with a 10 Anima with Zaya 1 and a Leona 1. So now I'm facing the 10 Anima player. I'm surprised that they only have 2 items on Zaya, but fortunately for him, 10 Anima 6th place. Like, that's a rough game. So when you do play this on this encounter, if you are facing someone who has the Exodia potential, you kind of want to make sure that you have a little bit more lives ideally, so you don't get knocked out 6th like this guy. Right? If he had 1 more life, he probably would have gotten like 2nd or 3rd instead. And it seems like Street Demon has the higher cap, although I don't know if this is because I was level 10. Yeah, I guess from the stats, Street Demon's slightly higher. And so now it's pretty much, we're off to the races. We'll pretty much just win out from here. So not too surprising. If I were to summarize the game plan again, when you're playing this hacked dragon, you ideally on the first augment want to try to find Wandering Trainer if possible. If you can find Syndicate Emblem, that's probably the next easiest. And then Anima and Street Demon emblems give you the potential for hitting Prismatic, but you really need to have a lot of health and tempo because you need to get to level 10, which is possible if you get something like Invested Plus or Invested Plus Plus, something that just gives you a lot more econ. And yeah, I hope that you found this video helpful. This is a game plan that can win a lot of lobbies, and especially if your opponents are not aware of this, then it gives you a huge advantage. So I hope you found this video helpful. I hope you learned something. If you have any questions, comments, thoughts that you would like to add, please let me know in the description below. Thanks for watching, and I'll see you in the next one.